Hello, this is Rogers Redding. I'm the National Coordinator of Football Officials, and I'd like to welcome you to this first of the media and fan videos that we're producing for the 2018 season. As we have for the last several years, we'll pick out a few plays every couple of weeks or so to put on a video to show you, which are designed specifically to help educate the media and the fans about the rules. And the commentary that I'll make on these plays is intended to describe the play as well as to give you a sense of what the rule is and sometimes what the philosophy behind the rule is. So we've gotten good feedback on these videos in years past, and I hope you enjoy them. I hope you learn something from them. If you have particular plays in a game that you see that you'd like to have on the video, or if you want to contact us with any comments or any suggestions or criticisms of these videos, we'd be delighted to hear from you. Well, having said all that, let's get right to the plays. Here we have a kickoff, and the receiving team player makes a fair catch at about the 6-yard line and catches the ball where it becomes dead. There's nothing particularly exotic about this, but I wanted to show this to you as an example of the new rule on the kickoff, where if the player makes a fair catch inside the 25-yard line, then the first play from scrimmage after the kickoff will be from the 25-yard line, much like a touchback. And so under the new rule, he does not take the ball at that spot where he's made the fair catch like he would on a punt. He gets it at the 25-yard line. And so the same happens if he makes a fair catch in the end zone, or if the ball otherwise becomes dead in the end zone on the kick, and he gets the ball at the 25-yard line under the touchback rule. This is the new rule on kickoffs, where the fair catch inside the 25 gives that team the ball at the 25-yard line. The philosophy behind the rule, of course, is to cut down on the number of kickoff returns, because the data show that players are less safe on kickoff returns than any other play in the game. Here we have an example of two fouls on the same team. In fact, they're on the same player of that team. You can see that the left defensive end, number 55, is actually lined up in the neutral zone at the snap, and then he rushes the quarterback, and well after the ball has been released, he just gives the quarterback a shove and knocks him to the ground. So the offensive team has the option of which of those penalties they can accept. They have the option of choosing one, and of course they're going to decline the penalty for the offside foul and accept the penalty for the roughing the passer, which is tacked on to the end of the run. So this referee does a very nice job of giving a concise but complete explanation of what happened.
There are two fouls on the play, both on the defense. Offside, defense number 55. That penalty is declined. Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense number 55. 15 yards to the end of the run. Automatic first down.
This play has a foul for interference with the opportunity to catch the kick on an onside kick. Now this is fairly unusual. First of all, there are a lot of things to look for in an onside kick. Was the player offside before the ball was kicked? We have that in this case. Did the kicking team block before they're eligible to touch the ball, which means did they block before the ball goes 10 yards or before the receivers touched it? We don't have that on this play. The ball does go 10 yards, but what you're going to see is that the kicking team player catches the ball, making contact with the receiving team player, impeding his opportunity to get to the ball. And that's why it's kick-catch interference. There's nothing wrong with the kicking team player catching the ball once it's gone 10 yards, but he's got to do it in such a way that he doesn't prevent the receiving team player from getting to the football. And so this is a good call for kick-catch interference. You can see that the player on the kicking team is beyond the 10 yards all right, but he cuts in front of the receiving team player who's trying to get to the ball, and so that's why it becomes a foul for kick-catch interference. So I commend the officials for being alert to making this call, and I wanted to show it as an illustration of a rule that we don't see violated very often.
We had two fouls on the kick. Offsides, kicking team, number 11. That penalty is declined. Interference with the opportunity to catch a kick. Kicking team, 15 yards from the spot of the foul. First down.
On this next play, we see an example of offensive pass interference. what you're going to see is that the receiver to the wide side of the field on the left goes downfield, and he blocks on the defensive end, who is actually dropped back into pass coverage. And then the running back runs up the middle, crosses the line of scrimmage, and catches a pass and cuts off that block for a gain. Now, very likely this was intended to be a screen pass so that the ball carrier would have caught the ball behind the line of scrimmage. But in fact, because the ball crosses the line of scrimmage, that means that the player on the offensive team cannot block downfield. Now, if the offense first touches the ball behind the line of scrimmage, then that downfield block is okay. And of course, that's what happens on the screen pass. But here, because the ball goes beyond the line of scrimmage before it's touched, that makes the block downfield a foul for offensive pass interference. The referee does a very nice job of explaining why this is a foul. So I wanted you to see this one as an example of offensive pass interference.
The ruling on the field is that the pass went beyond the line of scrimmage. Number 2 was blocking downfield. Therefore, we have offensive pass interference against number 2. 15-yard penalty, still third down.
Watch the right guard on this pass play. He's going to block and get off that block and then go on downfield a few yards. The pass in crosses the neutral zone where it is tipped by a defensive player in the secondary, and the officials say that the ball was tipped behind the line of scrimmage and therefore wave off the foul for the ineligible receiver downfield. The rule is that if the ball does not cross the line of scrimmage before it's touched by the defensive team, that is, if it's touched in the backfield, then there's no foul for the lineman being downfield. But if the ball is touched by the defensive team beyond the line of scrimmage, that means the ball has crossed the line of scrimmage. And so if the offensive lineman, ineligible receiver, goes more than 3 yards downfield, that's a foul for an ineligible receiver. So that's what should have been the case here. This flag should not have been picked up. This foul should have stood, and the penalty should have been enforced.
No foul for an eligible receiver downfield. The ball was tipped behind the line of scrimmage. Second down.
On this punt play, we initially have a flag for roughing the kicker. But you can see then that the referee waves it off because the kicker ran outside the tackle box before kicking the ball. So the rule is that the kicker loses his protection of roughing the kicker once he carries the ball outside the tackle box. And remember, the tackle box is centered on the snapper, and it goes 2.5 yards in each direction along the line of scrimmage and extends back to the kicking team's end line. It's 5 yards wide, so if the punter, the ball carrier, runs outside that area before he kicks the ball, that is not going to be a foul for roughing the kicker, and that's what happens in this case. The philosophy of the rule is that the punter is actually looking like he might be running the ball to go for it instead of kick it. And so the defense is reacting to that under the philosophy of the rule. And so if he wants to maintain his protection for roughing, he's got to stay inside the tackle box. And he doesn't do that in this case, and so that's the reason for the wave off of the flag.
For the first 3 games.
The kicker was outside the pocket.
Here we have a play which ends with a targeting foul by the use of the crown of the helmet. The player who is targeted is being tackled, dragged out of bounds, and then the defender comes in, lowers his head, forcibly contacts by leading with the crown of the helmet. This is a foul under the rule for the crown of the helmet. This is a good call by the officials, and I just wanted to show this to you as an example of the crown of the helmet foul. Mostly what we see probably are fouls to the head or neck area of a defenseless player. Now this player is defenseless because he's out of bounds, the play's over, he's being dragged to the ground, and so he's a defenseless player. So this could be a foul under either circumstance, but certainly because the defensive player uses the crown of the helmet in a forcible way by leading with the crown and initiating that contact, this is a foul for targeting.
After review, the ruling of targeting is confirmed. Number 11 is disqualified from the game. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
On this pass play, we see another example of offensive pass interference. The player who goes in motion to the left side and then sets up in the slot goes downfield and blocks on the defender, and then his teammate the other receiver to the wide side of the field cuts off that block to catch the pass. This is sometimes referred to as a pick. Then the rule says that the offensive player may not make contact beyond the neutral zone that interferes with an opponent. Clearly that's what we have in this case. This is an easy foul to call, and the officials do a good job of making this call. It's kind of interesting also to notice that at the end of the play we get a look from the cap cam, that is the camera that is on the cap of the head line judge in this play, and this is an innovation of TV that gives a good look to the play that shows you what the official is looking at, what he sees on this play as well.
Pass interference. Offense number 2. 15 yards from the previous spot. We take third down.
Well, that's it for this first set of videos for the 2018 season. I hope you've enjoyed them. I hope you learned something from them. And again, let us hear from you if you have suggestions or comments or questions. Good luck with your games this week, and we'll be back with some more videos in a couple of weeks.